the problem isn't the content and social media itself, but how we feel like after we consume it. And the idea about problem of knowledge, those people who make the things that we watch, entertainments, let's say, any kind of series, books, it could be movies that you consume, even just simple YouTube videos created by a single creators, is curated to make you feel like you are having fun or make you feel like you learned something out of it. And it's mostly like 99% when, let's say, you read a book about philosophy, you read a book about let's just not talk about philosophy. Maybe you read a book about war or any kind of like specific topic. That author doesn't really have the kind of like expert knowledge about that topic, but he knows, like the authors know exactly how to write in order to make the readers feel emotion, like emotion come out and feel resonated with the book. So it's at the end, it's actually not about that, but more like how skillful the writing skill of the author is instead of the message. And and obviously I first thought that like this was a huge kind, like a big kind of problem, but I ended up thinking that we often fail to realize how less we know about certain things, even after researching, or like you do all the kind of things to actually learn about it. But what actually, like the part that you can digest and make it as yours, make it as your part of yourself, a part of yourself, and part of your behavior, your usual behavior, is extremely small, like few, like smaller than what you think. And it's like closer to not knowing instead of like actually knowing that thing. So I was thinking about this lately, especially I finished the book about a book, Republics and Apology by Plato, and I thought about it for a while, and I thought, but it's not the author's fault. It's not the politician's fault or like social media's fault. They're just doing something that sticks for them, and they're just doing something that society rewards them in terms of money or social hierarchy status or the kind of things, and they're just using their talent or skills, but they seem to realize not like others. So, and what happens is when you're not aware of, let's say you watch the documentary and you feel like you learned something, you feel like you're better than others. That's the kind of feeling that you should be aware of, and that's what I'm always trying to be aware of when I'm studying. Let's say, like, obviously when I'm studying, I am moving, like I'm trying to digest this knowledge. Let's say, like, I'm doing just my schoolwork, then that's so simple as it is, because like you just need to get the kind of score that you need to get, and that really is about it. But when it comes to vague ideas like form of justice, freedom, happiness, love, this kind of very vague and difficult terms, I would say, to identify, and it depends. The meaning, the definition of these terms depend on on people. I mean, person by person. It's so vague and really hard to tell. Like, put out. Let's say you read about something else, and a philosophy book. Let's just say that, and you feel like you learned something, but actually, what happened is you were just attached to this book because you were entertained by the story, the plot, and the skill of the author instead of actually learn something. And I always thought that if you cannot explain something, then you don't actually know it. But I don't know. I just feel like that really isn't true anymore after realizing most of the times when you know something and it works for you, it's really hard to rationalize it. Just because you can reason it and logically put out, like translate your thought, clumps of ideas that are inside your head to like outside your brain, like speak it out, doesn't mean that you know it better than others. So if like when you're watching, like, just we just gotta admit to the fact that I watch this or I'm reading this because it's fun, because it stimulates my brain in a much healthier way. It could be a much healthier way than scrolling or just watching any kind of YouTube videos that aren't really helpful, let's say. But at the end, like the fundamental um reason why you're doing it isn't actually like, you gotta admit to the fact that I'm just entertaining myself, instead of I'm being a better version of myself or any kind of those things. Because just like I said, like it kind of um branches with the idea that I talked about in one of my videos in my YouTube channel, is that at the end you just do the thing. Like you just give it a time, then you just do the thing. All the motivations or any kind of emotions that you had disappears, fade away. That's why when you actually start doing the thing that you've been avoiding for a very long time, you just start doing, like you just keep on going. And it's not like, oh, it's so easy, I can get, it that's also emotion. You just do it. Okay, I mean, yeah, it's much easier, obviously, since you've been avoiding. That's like negative energy, and you start doing it, you're back to zero, so it feels like you elated, you improved it. But actually that's the standard point, that's how it's supposed to be. Same goes for when you're so expecting something to be great, like so good for you. Like if that happens, my life would be so much better. I would I'll feel like I'm liberated, and I'll be so I'll be so happy, like I'll be okay. It would be okay if I just die, like that kind of feeling when you are pursuing a goal that feels so impossible and it takes a long time, and you once you achieve it, that's like once you that's yours, it's back to zero. And that's why you feel like it's down. But because all the hype that you made and all the romanticizing and the image that you made upon that thing, that goal, that's why it feels like you all went all the way down. And that's why some people even get depressed after achieving the goal. I kind of sidetracked, but the point is, I don't think there's anything wrong with trying to learn more and be educated, but also at the same time, consuming isn't in being informed. Like being informed is such a difficult task. You gotta challenge your brain consistently while reading something. Even simple phrases would take a lot much more time for you to digest than you thought, than you think. And that exactly is something that happened to me. Like I've read a lot of books, any kind of books. I'm gonna admit, I read lots of just cheap web novels. To recently I've been reading Bible, and the philosophical books of The Stranger or Soren Kierkegaard's within either, the kind of things. But like I realized that I'm kind of the reason behind the reading wasn't actually trying to know, but like I just want to like stimulate my brain. But this feels much healthier. I don't even think I understood the implication. I mean, not implication, the meanings that the authors were trying to deliver or imply in like little phrases that I didn't quite get it. I didn't quite get it 100%, but I just let it slide because there are like so many things that's going on, and I was like so eager to finishing it instead of actually understanding it. So like it's no joke. Like it's really not an exaggeration. If you are trying to actually get informed, then like a single book, let's say like 300 pages or 500 pages, will take longer than like 3 months. I'm not even lying. Like just if you just start like trying to if you just try to actually digest every single thing that's inside that book, it'll take so much longer time than you think. And that is why I think it's not the content, it's not the social media, it's how we consume it. Consume them after watching it or after doing it. If you just don't feel good about yourself and you feel like you had to do something else, well, that's also just another you trying to convince yourself that that thing will fix your problem. That if you were studying, you're a much better person. But actually, that's just not true. You just choose to stimulate your brain in a much cheaper way. But that thing, like reading book, let's say reading certain books that will enlighten you, you feel like, but that actually just isn't true. And I'm just like trying to, obviously this might be just overthinking and trying to make sense of everything that I that's inside my head, but I think it's so important to be aware of whether you are feeling good about yourself just because you learned something new, or whether you are actually trying and you don't even think about those kind of things. Like, you see, like when you're so into it, when you're actually trying to learn, you don't actually think about the things that would happen after you learn about this. Like, I'm gonna talk about this in, I don't know, in front of my friends or family, like the kind of things. I used to have these kind of things a lot. I used to think these kind of things a lot back in the days. I'm not saying I'm not no longer the kind of person, but I still have that in my head. Like, if I learn something new, then I immediately think that I'm a better person. Like, it's not the kind of thing I can even control. So I'm saying that we should be aware instead of suppress it or like limit it, and be aware that, okay, I'm just entertaining myself. I don't know shit. I'm aware of that, and in order to actually know, I should have I should have um filled all the holes spots that that I had while reading or while studying, like every single one of them, and it would have taken much more time for me to actually finish this thing. And I know that that's why I didn't do it. Yeah, that really is about it. Thank you for watching the video.